and let it go. Another deep breath in. Let it go. One more. Breathe in and let go. So good morning, my friends. If you don't know me, my name is Reverend Elisha Christopher. I am the spiritual director here at this center. I use they and them pronouns. Maybe you can't tell that by looking at me, so I'm telling you. My ancestors came to this country from Ireland and Scotland on my father's side, and on my mother's side from Austria and Holland. And I just first want to remind us why the reason we say these things all the time here in this center. Earlier in the pandemic, there was a ceremony downtown where the mission bell was removed from one of the town squares here in Santa Cruz. And there's been this movement, right, throughout California to remove these symbols of genocide and oppression from our public spaces. And this has been a request from the native people of California. At that ceremony, one of the elders from the Amamutsin tribal group said to the people who were watching, we have a protocol. When we hold ceremony, we introduce ourselves, we honor the ancestors of the place where we are, and we invite our ancestors into the room as well. And they said, if you hold ceremony on this land, our land, could you at least honor native protocol? And so I came back and said, well, we hold ceremony on this land every Sunday. So that's why we bring this into the space, right? It's not just an announcement, it's an invitation. First, to see the unique beauty that is living and breathing as each one of us, and then also to recognize that there are those who stand behind us who, when we call them in, when we acknowledge them, they are here with us. So I just got back from Charleston, South Carolina, where we had a week at the Spiritual Living Convention, which is the national gathering of the Centers for Spiritual Living. And I gotta tell you, y'all, we had a week. And you know, this month's theme across the centers and our global themes that we share is divine discomfort. And we got to witness in our global spiritual community this week the result of the kinds of change that divine discomfort can truly bring about. It was probably 10 or 12 years ago at one of our spiritual living conventions where the convention team put the conference together, all the speakers, all the musicians, and the announcements went out about who was going to be speaking and what was going to be happening. And some of the people of color in this organization reached out and said, so everybody on this stage is white. Can we just call this out? And so there was a little disruption that took place. And the conference team scrambled to try to make the stage look a little bit more diverse, to listen to this call, to step up a little bit. And then since then, there's been a lot of conversations that have been happening organization-wide within the structure of Centers for Spiritual Living about who we are, who we stand with, who we stand for. And one of our ministers, who is a person of color, left the organization about 10 years ago, and then just has recently come back and came to this conference. And I got to tell you that one of the things she said was that this conference was like opening up a time capsule, where we realized that we had planted some seeds of intention to become a more diverse community, to lift up more voices, to really open up and take our stance for who we are and who we want to include. We stepped into this conference in South Carolina this week. This was the most diverse, spiritually magnificent, beautiful conference I have ever been to in my entire life. Our organization has been meeting in February for decades. Never once has the conference celebrated Black History Month. This year, We did more than celebrate Black History Month. We celebrated Black magnificence. Okay, we partnered with the brand new International African American History Museum. Our week started with West African drummers, the Gula Geechee Choir. We were in it. Okay? And the conversations that came from the stage, the people who were invited to speak, what was brought forward was a celebration of Black magnificence. It was a celebration of gender, spectrum of gender. It was a celebration of body positivity. It was a celebration of neurodiversity. We brought forth so many powerful conversations. And I tell you, there was an energy in that room this week that was unlike anything I have ever experienced before. And one of the things that many of us walked away with is that we at Centers for Spiritual Living have as our part of our global vision, this idea that we are here to awaken humanity to its spiritual magnificence. We got to taste it this week. What it looks like when we truly lift up the diversity, the beauty, the multiplicity of who we are and bring it into the room. When we enter into that space of overlapping perspectives and overlapping honoring of the other, the magic becomes unleashed. Okay? And so I'm coming to you this week like lit up and inspired and a little jet lagged and kind of delirious because I'm still totally exhausted. It was a very overwhelming week on many levels. But I realized that what we experienced this week in our global community was the result of some divine discomfort. Because people were willing to point out that which was not working. People were willing to speak up, but also people were willing to listen. People were willing to sit with that discomfort. People were willing to look at themselves and say, wait a minute, what about me needs to change so that the we of us can change? And I'm not saying the work is done, but what I'm saying is that I got to witness an arc. That the story has changed, that the tide has turned, that something has shifted. And we are here to be the transformation, right? We are here to be a people who stand up for a new way of living, for a new way of being, because we believe, we say we believe, I think we believe that there is an inherent spiritual magnificence that lives in each and every person. That there is true divinity living and breathing as each one of us. And that our practice is to look for God in absolutely everyone. To look for God. Because the truth is, it is that divine spark, it is the power and the presence of the one that is looking out of the eyes of every single person. And when we're willing to look for it in each other, especially when that other looks or believes or identifies completely differently than we do, we might get to see a part of ourselves that we never saw before. That's the beauty of our difference and our diversity, is that we are all mirrors of each other. And when we only look into the mirror of sameness, we're only going to keep seeing the same thing. And if we're willing to look into these difficult moments, to even look into those who have harmed us, and be willing to look for what is in that reflection, you've heard me say it before, our pain is a doorway to God. If we're willing to step into it, if we're willing to look into it, if we're willing to sit with it, that which is the disruption, that which is the discomfort, that which is the disturbance might actually lead us to places we never dreamed we could go. And the thing that I also want to celebrate with you here today is that here in this community, just in the last couple years, we've started to bring in these practices that we do each week, right? We acknowledge the land. We use our pronouns. We bring in our ancestors. We've been having uncomfortable conversations. We've been talking about privilege. We talk about racism. We bring these things into the room. And the thing that I want to say is if you've been here at this center for multiple years, look around. There's a lot more people in this room than there was before. Because there's an opening. We're opening to something new. Right? And I told the community, I got to speak at the conference as one of the ministers who's leading a community who's been thriving in challenging times. Because in the last couple of years, a lot of the centers around the country have really been struggling. And then there's some that seem to be growing and thriving. And the question has been, why? What's the difference? And it's the communities who are willing to take a stance, who are willing to lean into the new thoughts that are emerging in our world and embrace them and lift them up, that are growing. Right? And so I told the conference this week, I said, you know, y'all, the world is coming up with all kinds of new thoughts. And there's a whole bunch of us who are going, I don't know about these. You know? And so if we're willing to embrace the new ideas, embrace the new perspective, embrace the emerging paradigm, then we get to be the people who show how to live in it. We get to be the people who model what inclusion looks like. We get to be a people who model what it looks like to be an ally to those who have been forgotten, those who have been left in the back, those who have been squashed down, right? We get to be a place of lifting up, of including. And the thing that I want to tell you, CSL Santa Cruz, is that who we are and who we have become in the last couple years has been noticed by our global organization of Centers for Spiritual Living. And so I brought something back for you. Which is the Excellence in Community Award that we received, that I got to receive on your behalf. We were nominated and named the Center of the Year for last year for all that we've accomplished here. So you get to give yourself a standing ovation because this is you. This is our community. This is your award. And, you know, I look out at the field of our organization and I realize that there are communities who've been doing the work for a long time. There are communities like SLC, Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta, like East Bay Church of Religious Science. There are centers who've been doing the hard work for a long time. But the thing is, we're a community who really just started doing the hard work. And we've showed an example of what can happen when we do. And I think the organization, many of our centers who are trying to figure out how do we survive in these very interesting times, have noticed that when we make the turn, when we take a stand, when we step up and step out, everything can change. And I believe that we got this award this year because we got to set the example. We got to show the turn, the shift that can happen when we lean into possibility. I don't think it's because we've done anything extraordinary. I think it's because we've started to do the work, and it makes all the difference. So I really want to say thank you for the way that we and you have shown up together in the last couple years, because this place has transformed. We have become noticed in our community. We have become a place of overlap where many spiritual communities come together. There's a Torah in this ark standing right behind me. We get to share this space and be about the new story. And it may not always be totally comfortable for everybody. I know every time I tell you my pronouns are they and them, some of you cringe. It's okay, you're gonna get used to it. But also, when there are others who need to hear that in order to feel safe in this space. And I'm gotta tell you, I'm a little bit sorry, not really. That part's more important to me than whether or not you're comfortable. Because when we're comfortable, we don't grow. When we're comfortable, we don't move. Thank you, Jason, for that quote this morning. God, make me so uncomfortable that I move and I become who I came here to be. So we're just going to keep doing it. Okay? There's a whole long way to go. There's a whole lot more work in front of us. There's a whole lot more people who we want to have in this room. But we're on our way. And I just want to celebrate you, community, for who we've become, for what's happened here in the last couple of years, and for that which is coming in front of us. Because this is our year of grand rising. And I tell you, if what I experienced in the last week as a mental equivalent and as a feeling tone has anything to do with the direction that we're going, I am here for this. So take a deep breath in. Let it go. Another deep breath. And let it go. And as we breathe together, I bring into our awareness this truth that each one of us are being breathed by something greater than we are. Feel that thing that is breathing your body, beating your heart. It is the one life that is speaking these words and hearing these words. Because what I know is that there is indeed one seamless presence that is living and breathing throughout the entirety of the universe. And it is this one who is unfolding in, through, and as everyone, everything, every when, everywhere, every circumstance, every interaction, everything beautiful, everything painful, all of it is encapsulated as part of this one life, this one power, this one presence, this one infinite being that I call God. But what I know is that this life force, this energy, it is the truth of who we are. That each person in this room, that each and every living being on this planet, and truthfully in all the worlds, everything that is alive are expressions of the one life. And so let each one of us remember that we are the unique, individualized places where the allness of that possibility funnels itself into actuality. And it does so through us, through our thoughts, through our choices, through our intentions, through our attention, through our participation in life. The spirit of life is creating through us. In everything we do, we are the activity of the one. And so what I want to celebrate today is that this community, Center for Spiritual Living Santa Cruz, but also Centers for Spiritual Living around the world, we are a community that is dedicated to possibility. We are a community that is here bringing about the spiritual magnificence of humanity. We are a community that has a vision of a world that works for all, and we are doing everything that we can to become the place where that vision reveals itself in the world. So let this truth be the activity of our lives. Let us first remember the truth of who we are and look for that presence in each other so that we can continuously be in the celebration and in the gratitude of that which is unfolding, of that which is calling us forward, of that which is being created as the result of who we are becoming. And so in this moment, I invite us to breathe again. And as we breathe, to again remember that we are being breathed. That, as Ernest Holmes would remind us, there is a power for good in this universe that is so much greater than we are. Let each one of us be a place where that power comes through in new ways to reveal itself in the world, to be the place where the healing is happening, so that we each, individually and collectively, become the healed people who can help heal the people so that the world can become what it's meant to be. And so I breathe it in, and I let it be, and so it is. Thank you, my friends. Jamie.